What's up, everybody? Bryce Crispy 94 here, bringing you another Monster Corner, and as always, we are joined by the one and only Cryo.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Monster Corner once again. When I say we got a good one, I'm telling you, we got a good one.
That we do. We are going over the Catoblepas. So, if you guys don't know what the Catoblepas is, you are in for, I want to say, treat.
No, not at all.
But yeah, that'd be a lie. Cryo actually threw these wonderful creatures at us in Double Advantage.
And that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this. I said I had one in mind. I said when I had one in mind before you guys even encountered these, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, you did.
And I did that on purpose as a little hint. So this is what I was referring to for those of you who watched the Rakshasa Monster Corner.
That is right, yeah. So, well, yeah, go back and watch that one because that was great. And also, before you guys watch this, go back, watch the last 4 or 5 episodes of Double Advantage so you know exactly the hell we went through with these things.
Yeah, definitely do so they could get a better understanding of why Bryce is not so favorable of these.
Okay, so let's look at this first edition design here.
Pretty.
I mean, just looking at that, you should be able to tell why I don't like this thing.
I really enjoy that the tail looks more like a bunch of grapes rather than a mace. Like it looks like, oh shit, oh damn, some grapes. Hey, let's go.
This one,
in fact,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, when in fact it does like 46 bludgeoning and it can stun you.
I think this one really embodies the kind of warthog head.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It definitely plays into that a little bit more. It's less furry and is trying to make it look more like a brontosaurus rather than the giraffe-esque kind of vibe that they describe in certain books.
Yeah, like I've seen dinosaur tossed around. I've seen warthog. I've seen hippo. I've seen giraffe. I've seen camel. Like, this thing is just a hodgepodge of all these already kind of weird animals when you think about it.
Already the worst of each kind of these animals just put into one being.
Yeah, it's like the weirdest parts of each of the animals, and it's just like, here you go.
Yeah.
And so second edition didn't really change much, honestly. It gave it some fur and colorized it.
I think what they're playing into here is dinosaur.
Yes.
Heavily. This gives me prehistoric, like, woolly mammoth vibes. Like a caveman would ride one of these into battle type of thing. That's the vibe that I get when I see second edition.
The thing I don't like about it is the fur looks like a lion's mane, and I just, like, I trace it up, and I'm like, where's the lion's head? And then it's... Yeah.
You know what? It kind of looks like a Pokemon with this art style.
It does, actually.
Like, this gives me, like, Gen 2...
Yes!
Silver and gold, like, Girafarig evolution.
I agree.
That's what this is giving me right now, and I don't like it.
I do think the snout... I'm going to go back real quick. Yeah, the snout is definitely more elongated in 2 than it is 1. Yeah,
they make it more like a crocodile type of, like, long...
Yeah.
Rather than an actual...
Like, it gives a little bit of warthog vibes, but it strays a little farther from the warthog look.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You get the warthog look around the actual, like, face, but once you get into the snout, that's where you get that kind of snapping crocodile-like look that you were talking about.
Now it almost looks like, now that I can't unsee it, it's definitely like there's a lion body.
Yeah!
It's just a lion body.
It's a lion body.
Like, they were like, let's go lion body, and then the rest will fucking... Like, they were intending on drawing a lion and then said, let's just make it weird.
Now,
and then they were like, oh.
The tail looks the same, like the end of the tail, but...
It looks more dangerous.
It does, because I think that's because the tail looks longer, so it looks like it could whip a lot harder.
Yeah, it definitely is much longer.
Yeah,
it looks
it's longer and skinnier.
Rather than
yeah, so it looks like a whip with that, club there on the end of it.
More like a flail rather than a mace.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then third edition.
Fucking. Now, honestly, this is the way that I see them in my brain. Like,
I'm
I know
sorry.
that either when I described them, yeah, when I described them in the game, like I did describe Warthog, because that's what, spoilers, that's
Right.
what 5th edition leans heavily into. But this is how I see them, like a camel.
Yes,
Like,
this is definitely the more camel-looking one.
I mean, it's less gross in theory, because it kind of just looks like a camel with longer features. That's kind of all it is.
This, to me, is the most realistic take.
I agree.
Like, if
I
this thing
agree.
existed, you know, in, like, the swamps in, like, Brazil, I wouldn't be surprised.
I'd buy it. If you show me a picture of this and it was like, this is a new thing that they found in the world today, I'd be like, I don't deny that.
Yeah.
I do like the action shot of the mace, like showing that it's about
Yes.
to come in
It's
full
got,
force.
like,
It's just freaking.
some spikes on it. This one, to me, looks a lot smaller, though.
It's a lot longer.
Yeah. It's a
lot
very
longer,
lankier.
Like with like the first two, they look bigger. This one just looks long,
Yeah.
like the size of a house, like long, if you think about it that way.
This one also looks like, though, if you hit it anywhere in the neck, you just kill it.
Oh yeah, such a frail neck.
Yeah.
All of them so far have had. I mean, 2nd edition had a pretty thick neck, but this one you could freaking snap that shit in half.
Yeah.
Easy.
Interesting. On to 4th edition, which is the biggest stray from the design, and
I like it. I like 4th editions a lot.
I
And the
hate
reason
it.
why is because it does say that it's a monstrosity and not a demon. This definitely
true.
would play more into like this would be this to me seems like an undead Catoblepas. Like this seems like something you would find in like the River Styx, like going down to the pits of hell. Like you would see an undead one of these.
right? And, well, and
Because-
like even in the picture, you see the skulls like floating there.
Yeah. I definitely like the body shape. Like if we're talking about the body, like the neck, nice size, like it plays into
Yes.
it. You don't really see the mace tail, which is kind of a loss for me.
Right. This one to me just looks like a weird horse with a human head.
Yeah. I think that the horns spot on. I think
Yeah.
if the horns stayed and the face was actually a board, this would probably be my favorite.
Yeah,
But
with a, like,
because of the human-ish face, I'm like, eh.
this is okay. I'm gonna jump to Pokemon real quick.
Okay.
This is the time pole of Catoblepas.
Okay. I can understand that.
It's just you have something that's supposed to be something, but you put a human face on it, and it just completely changes the way you look at it.
No, I agree. I just it kind of throws everything off for me because yeah, the body, like look at the torso, like the chest and the legs, like there's some
Yeah.
muscle on those upper legs. But then like you're expecting like an animalistic face and like no, have a human.
So then
But it's
we
still
get-
cool. I think it plays into the what it's supposed to be. Like it's not a
Right.
pleasant creature by any means.
Yeah, that definitely gets that part. And then we have 5th edition.
Oh, this fucking thing. Okay. This is okay, hold on.
All right.
Sorry. This is what I have in my head all the time because we play 5th edition, so it's easy to keep what 5th edition monsters look like in your head at all times because that's just what you're used to. But I do think that this is probably the best iteration of it. And I say that because the face looks close enough to a warthog but further away enough for it to be distinct.
Right.
I like the fur, right? I think that it makes sense for it to be fur. The legs are thick, the body's thick. It has like the hump like a camel. It has a tail that looks like it will do damage.
Yes.
It
It's-
has all the things that you would expect.
And I like this tail because it's thick in the right. Instead of just being thin straight off the body, it actually it's thick, and then it goes to where it looks like it's gonna snap and crack you with that actual mace.
And even then, like, if you compare it, like, I'm sure the tusks of that creature are thick, and that tail is thicker, right?
Mhm.
So, like, in comparison, yeah, it looks a little thin, but the ball at the base, like, that thing looks like
yeah.
it's gonna hurt. Like, that's a bowling ball sized thing coming at your head.
Yeah, but these
the
things
speed
are
of a whip.
about 6 feet tall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then they're even longer than that. So
Yeah, I think there's something like 20 feet long.
Yeah, that's insane.
Some shit like that. Because you got to think about it. The neck and then the tail as well at full. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's definitely a lot. Okay, well, that's enough about that hideous design. Now let's talk about where these monstrosities come from.
Ooh, baby.
So, they dwell in a lot of different planes. We actually, just before recording, found out they're on the ethereal plane.
Who would have knew? Who would have known?
And that just confuses me. I'm like, why are these allowed on the ethereal plane?
Why are they allowed anywhere?
That's fair. But yeah, mostly found in underdarkish areas, swamps, marshes. They can actually be domesticated, which is, again, kind of weird to me that someone was just like, yeah, let's, feed these things. They eat a variety of things, such as oats and pigs. So people just feed them pigs.
Why not?
Whatever.
Big boy got to eat.
And which I didn't know this, but Cryo mentioned it during, I think we were playing, or I don't know if we were just talking before or after playing.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, you can use them to make cheese.
Yes, you can. And it's called death cheese, for those of you who are interested. I believe you could also make wine out of stuff that they secrete. I don't know. It's a weird situation.
It is.
But it's, like, not harmful. It's, like, actually, like, apparently, like, super good. Like,
That's so weird.
I don't know. It's weird.
But this is such a weird creature, because it's like, they design it to be something that you fight, because the wild ones are very aggressive. But
Yeah.
then in the lore, they're domesticatable, which is
I think it's a trust-based thing, probably, as is, like, every instance of animals.
But this is like the first time I've seen something labeled as a monstrosity that Wizards has just been like, oh, but like they're basically cows.
And I think the reason why is because of the way they look. Like, if you were to send me this picture without the skulls or whatever, I'd just be like, oh, this is just like a weird demented thing. Like, I wouldn't think it's a demon. I wouldn't think it's I think that maybe the only reason it is considered a monstrosity is one of the specific things in its stat block that we'll get to.
Yeah. That's
Other than
very
that,
fair.
yeah, I think that it's just a cow.
Yeah, it's just a cow. You make some death cheese, feed it some pigs, carry on.
Call it a day.
But yeah, I was trying to see if Wizards ever talked about who actually tames these creatures, but they don't specifically say. And I know Cryo used spoilers, but he used Duragar. Oh my, I cannot talk today. I recorded the opening to a painting video earlier, and I just butchered everything.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, I just haven't been able to talk. But anyway, back to this. Yeah, so he used the Duragar to basically tame these and send after us, which I really enjoyed that.
Actually, you went after them.
That's fair.
Just put
That's
that out
fair.
there. I didn't send anything after you. You chose the fight. You chose this fight.
Man. And there, I've seen a couple drawings of what appear to just be human farmers feeding them. And I know in marshy areas they are actually used to fight off raiding bullywugs from farmers. Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Very interesting.
Yes. So, that's enough origin history. Anything else you guys can look up yourself?
1 second, my mom is calling me.
All right. We will be right back.
All right, sorry about that. I'm good.
Okay. All right, Cryo's back. We will resume. There'll be a little cut, and we will start right here. So, that's the origin and history. Now we will move on to the wonderful stat block of these, again, disgusting creatures.
Man, I spent many hours looking at this stat block
bet
and
you did.
using it, and I know this thing like the back of my hand. This is the first time where I think I know just about as much as Bryce on one of these. But I'll let you take it away.
Okay, so armor class 14. It's got natural armor. I think 14's good. I could almost see it being 15, just given like its origin and being like, you know, the creatures that they describe it from, like a boar, hippo, like those things have thick skin. So that's the only reason I could see 15, but I can see 14 as well.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. And in fact, there was a chance that I was gonna up it. And the reason why is like you just look at the picture and like that does not look like a tough thing to pierce.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And like I don't know, boar hunting, that's like big in Florida and Texas because, you know, the boars are very invasive and bad for the environment. But yeah, they have to use very large, you know, bullets to pierce the hide on those things.
I mean, to be fair, having a 14 is good enough because like it should have 10 without armor. Like that's how they usually. So like 4 points for just being a creature, I guess, is pretty high. So I didn't really want to mess with it, especially considering some of the other things that it has.
Yeah,
you want to kill this thing quick.
That's fair. That's fair. The 84 hit points. I also, again, what I know about it, I could see that going up easily.
I mean, to be fair, that's only the average of 8d10 plus 40, right? You could, I mean, and I did roll for these actually. So some of them had a little more and some of them had a little less. Like the first one, the first one, right? Yeah, the first one you fought, or did you fight 3?
We fought 3.
Yeah, you're right. The first one was lower, and then the next 2 had like 90 something.
Really? I feel like the first one took us the longest. No, I think the second one took us the longest. Because
you didn't. The last one took you the shortest because you guys freaking bombed that one in a sneak round. So
you know, there's this crazy lady over here, but screw her. We're going straight for the terrible thing.
Well, at that point, you'd already fought 2.
Yeah.
And you knew what they did and the chaos that they could create. So it was only a matter of time.
Walking speed 30 feet. Yeah, they don't look like they move very quick. Strength 19. I like that. Dex 12. I mean, again,
it all makes a lot of sense. Especially that charisma. I think it should be lower, but you know.
Yeah, right. Constitution, yeah. And then the con plays a lot into the thickness of that skin, I feel.
Yeah, because it's just a big pile of hit points. Yeah, it's easy to hit because it's a big thing, but it's hard to take down.
That might be the dumbest creature you've ever thrown at us.
Yeah, probably. Or maybe anybody from the council.
Right, yeah.
Because messing with you fuckers is a problem, so they gotta be pretty dumb.
Wisdom. What's wisdom? Wisdom. Why is this so wise?
I don't know. I tried to make it make sense, but it never did. It never did. Probably because of the keen smell, maybe.
I'm
it's
just
got a really good sniffer.
Because it can be domesticated.
Maybe, I guess. But wouldn't that? I don't know. I guess maybe that's because the intelligence is low. It's stupid to be domesticated, but it's wise enough to know. I don't know.
I always think about so like this is how I basically have learned in my brain to differentiate wisdom and intelligence in D&D. Intelligence, book smart. Wisdom, street smart.
I guess that makes sense for animals to be wise because they have to know how to survive.
Right.
Right. So I guess that does make sense, and the keen smell too, like having that perception.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it makes sense. It doesn't seem out of place now that I think about it like that.
Dark vision 60 feet, passive perception 12. Doesn't understand any languages, obviously. Challenge 5, which
it's right on the cusp. It could be considered 6, especially if you bump the AC up to 2. It's like right on that cusp.
Proficiency bonus 3, so it's got the keen smell, as Cryo was saying earlier, which gives it the advantage on wisdom perception checks. And then the head is in the way.
It says stench. Trust me, I have this whole thing fucking memorized. It says stench. Yeah.
So stench is really fun. You want to talk about stench there?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about stench. So any creature, other than the Catoblepas, of course, that starts its turn within 10 feet of the Catoblepas must succeed on a DC 16 con saving throw or be poisoned because of the disgusting, vile smell that it produces. I believe I described it as a dead skunk.
Yeah.
Probably worse than that, actually. That it literally is so bad smelling that you literally cannot like physically do things properly. Like it's such an inhibited like thing that it like brings onto people, which is really fun because
DC save of 16 as well.
oh, this thing's disgustingly crazy.
Like-
And that's part of the reason why I wanted to use it, because it's like, all you motherfuckers, if you don't think about it, all you motherfuckers are melee characters, right?
Yeah.
We got Sakura, who stabs in melee. He can throw in melee. Then we got you as Volstagg, who's get a wild shape in melee or use spells, but I knew that you'd probably opt for, because you typically opt for wild shape, right? That's how
and
you know.
you had some magic mushrooms down there that were making me scared to use spells.
Yeah, maybe one day I'll go into detail on that for the people who might be confused. But yeah, because plus recently you had been doing a little bit more spell casting, but I know that in general you opt for wild shape, right?
I
So
try and
it's
switch
just
it
reading.
up, but yeah.
Yeah, it didn't play good in your part, so you stopped.
It's usually like, if the spells aren't working, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna bite this thing.
I mean, yeah, when push comes to shove, right?
Right.
And two, it's also reading your characters, like reading the players at your table, right? Like I know Sakura more likely, as even though he's got the ability to stay at a distance, he usually likes to go in.
He does. Yeah.
And right, so like I keep that in mind with these creatures, right? You typically, when you go into wild shape, have to go in. And obviously with Noki, who was a monk, you don't really have that option.
Right.
All that
they go
Noki
in.
could do was go in. So I was like, okay, this is fun. There's gonna be a little bit of like well, you guys want to be melee? Okay, we'll see what happens, right? Especially for you too, it was like either you go into melee and have to deal with this, or deal with the mushrooms with your magic. So it was like keeping you guys in a little bubble,
It worked.
which was nice.
It worked.
But yeah, so that's stench,
That's stench.
and so you can go ahead and discuss the tail, because I know you had a brush with the tail.
I did. I believe I got stunned several times with the tail.
You did. So
So yeah, it's just typical melee attack, right? +7 to hit. 10-foot tail. So yeah, it's a pretty long tail. 5d6, which is just insane to me.
Disgusting.
And then if it hits, you got to save on another DC 16 Constitution save, or you're stunned.
Yeah, that was a good time. I remember that.
Which is
Remember that
really
fondly.
unfortunate when the Catoblepas goes right before you and stuns you.
It stuns you, and then it goes again. That doesn't have a recharge, which sucks, because if you would have kept failing, I could have stunned you and
Yeah.
I could have stun locked you. And I would have felt bad at that point, because there's nothing worse than getting stun locked.
That's insane.
That's what, but I also, right, it's just a combination of being able to, and this is, I guess I'm kind of going a little too deep into my DMing thing, because I know I have a segment for that, but it's all about reading your players, right? Because Noki as a monk could have stunned the creature every turn with key points if
Right.
Annabelle wanted to do so, right? So Noki could have stun locked the Catoblepas, right? So it was me just kind of trying to give everybody a taste of their own medicine, which is what you want to do.
Yeah, and this was just a great combo to do that.
It worked out well, like in the long term, but at first I was just like, ooh, funny Underdark monster, let's use that. And then I built a whole story around it, and things just got massively out of hand.
So
Especially with this motherfucker.
the death ray.
Also, wait a minute. I could have sworn the death ray only recharged on a 5, because that's what I was doing.
This says 5
So
to 6.
either I handicapped myself.
You might have
or-
handicapped. I mean, I stole this straight from D&D Beyond.
Huh.
I mean, I have Volos.
Yeah,
up
no,
there,
I
so-
handicapped myself.
Yeah.
Because
Cool.
on the website that I was using, because I don't have the
Right.
stuff to actually look at it on D&D Beyond.
Yeah, I think that it's from Volos.
On here, it says Death Ray recharge 5,
Huh? Yeah, you.
which is funny because I roll the 5 I think every time to get it back.
Let me double check.
So it didn't matter.
I got Volos right here. shouldn't be too hard. Oh, I'm dropping stuff.
Damn, I handicap. I mean, it didn't come into play ever, but I did handicap myself with that by a lot actually, because I reduced it by a shit ton.
So, while I'm looking this up, you want to talk about what the death ray actually does?
Let me go ahead and talk about the death ray. So, it's got a 30-foot range, and the Catoblepas targets somebody, and that person must make a DC 16 Constitution saving throw as this beam of necrotic energy shoots forth and just absorbs their energy, and they will take 36 or 88 necrotic damage on a fail save, or half as much on a successful one. But what's even crazier about that is not that you could max the damage at 64, obviously, but that if the target fails the saving throw by 5 or more, right, so 11 or lower, the target will take max damage, just automatically if you fail by 5 or more. So let's say you roll a natural 1 on this Constitution save throw. You will take 64 necrotic damage, which at this point would have killed any one of them, because none of them have more than 64 except Volstagg in wild shape.
Yep.
And even if you weren't in wild shape, let's say you had just gotten taken out and you were full health of Volstagg form, you could have used Relentless Endurance to just bring you down to 0. But what's crazy is that if it brings you to 0, you die.
Yeah.
You just die.
No death saves. Just death.
No death saves, no nothing, you die. Which was obviously the downside, because I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, if they fail, right? If somebody rolled, let's say, a 13, they were going to just take, 36 or whatever, right? The roll. But on the off chance that any one of these guys rolled a 0, basically anybody but Volstagg. If anybody but Volstagg rolled a 0, or like a 1 or something, they were going to die. And, like, that's obviously the one thing where I was like, yeah, all it takes is one bad roll. Like, at the start of the fight, right, I could do Death Beam. Let's say Sakuto rolls a natural 1, and he's dead. He's just dead.
You go.
There's nothing he can do about it. I mean, I think he could uncanny dodge, maybe. Which might have helped. But, like...
Yeah, because it would reduce the damage, at least.
Like, they would have died, which I guess in the long term, now that I think about it, makes sense. Because, like, yeah, it literally couldn't kill Volstagg, which is good, because Volstagg's the only one who could have brought anybody back if they were to have died. So, like, I guess it evened out, and that was just an accidental thing that happened. I was like, oh, well, Volstagg's the only one who could live, so whatever. It'll be fine. Somebody will live. Right? But thankfully, they all fucking rolled, like, natural 20s on every save for the death ray. I think Volstagg, you rolled, like, a 21 in freaking hyena form, and I was like, what?
I did.
I was like, if anybody's going to take the damage, I want it to be Volstagg, because he'll... Imagine me saying, yeah, you take 64 points of necrotic. You would have lost your shit.
I would have been like, what?
Because I think the most I did to anybody was 22, and then it was halved because they saved. Like, if somebody would have failed, and if I would have said the words to you in the middle of that combat, you take 64 points of necrotic damage, I think that you would have hit me. You would have come through the screen and hit me.
What do you mean I take that?
But that shit, yeah, no, it's not an ability that messes around. And it made sense that it was only going to recharge on 5. 5 to 6 seems a little too crazy to me.
That's what I found it in Volos, but yeah, I showed it off to the camera earlier. But yeah, it's 5 to 6.
So I'm kind of glad I handicapped myself, because maybe in the long run it would have saved them. But who knows?
Who knows? Okay, so we'll just segue into your Cryo DM's corner, because there are no other versions of this. Well, there kind of are other versions.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So, it's very weird, but this is also a creature from Magic the Gathering.
Mm-hmm. You just told me about this.
Yes. So, in Mythic Odysseys of Theros, or Mythic Odysseys of Theros, it just has a different design. Because it's based off of the Magic the Gathering version rather than the 5th edition Volo's Guide version.
Got it.
But they use the same stat block.
Oh, okay. So it just looks a little different.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Didn't have a picture of it because I kind of found out about it at a later date. Because it's weird.
It's all good.
That picture isn't actually in Mythic Odysseys of Theros. Like,
Really?
that picture is only in the Magic the Gathering card game, but then the miniature from Icons of the Realms is based off of the Theros version.
Interesting.
So
I like the Theros version. I think the
yeah,
Theros version.
Theros version is cool. Look it up if you guys don't know what it is. Just type in Catoblepas Magic the Gathering and you'll see it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But I'll be short on this one because I did talk a lot about the Death Beam, and throughout this episode I've been giving my input because this is the first time like I have like very good experience with this. Like obviously with Knowles I'd used Knowles before. I think we did Marrow too, which I've used before.
Right.
But this is the first time where like I know exactly what this thing does because I used it 3 times actually. But so I'll be quick. What I did, just a brief rundown, is I basically had this area that was dying via the beams that this creature was dealing. And in the lore a little bit too, it states that it's just its presence kills flora and fauna. Just kind of in a small little radius, things just die. So I was like, well, let's just use these as a way to kill this area. And then there was a whole story behind that. And so they were basically the catalyst for the decay, right? I think that you could use this in similar ways, and it would make sense. These creatures can be found on the surface world, right? So you could have the same effect of it just absolutely ruining a farm town and killing all the crops, and just wreaking havoc on the area. I like the idea of maybe you go to a farm town and this old farmer gives you a quest to try and obtain death cheese. I think that's a funnier way to go about
that
using
would be
this
like, just like a fun side quest. Yeah.
Yeah, fun little side quest. I need you to get me death cheese, and then be like, "What the fuck's death cheese?" And then, like, the old man being like, "Yeah, there's this creature that lives in the swamp. It's no big deal, right?" And it just
go milk
underscores
it.
And then all of a sudden, yeah, and then you try to milk it, and it starts shooting death beams at you.
Yeah.
It'd be a nice little funny thing, a cool little maybe one-shot thing, right? With that little idea,
Right.
like, oh, the whole quest is to go get death cheese, and you're like, okay, we just
All right,
gotta
guys,
go
I'm
milk a
officially
cow.
scrapping the next one shot, and we're just having the death cheese milking episode.
I mean, yeah, right. And that would be fun because you'd be like, I thought we were playing D&D, and then you're like, what the fuck is death cheese? And then you're like, oh shit, this is actually a fight that's probably gonna hurt,
Yeah.
right? Because right, I had one of them for 3 level 6s, right? You guys level 6.
Yeah.
One of them for 3 level 6s was enough to do pretty significant
Mhm.
damage. So if you put one of those with, let's say, a group of 5 level 3s, I mean, I don't know how that works. It might actually be pretty bad for them, but right, because you can get away with it, right? Like,
I think,
You
you
know,
know, if any of them got hit by the death beam, they just die.
that's true. So maybe don't do that. But like,
At level
You know,
3,
I
you have
think-
like,
I think
18,
the range I was at,
19
it was
health.
good enough. I think it was good enough to the point where like they wouldn't have, like, it wasn't a big deal to the point where it was gonna be detrimental if
Like,
you guys,
we
like,
definitely
got
could have
fucked.
died.
you know.
But
Oh,
we
you could have
also
for sure,
definitely.
but
I don't think we easily beat it.
I wouldn't say easily, except for the third one.
Yeah, the third one we
Because-
just went in on.
Yeah, no, that one was pretty much dead the second you touched it. So like, you know, but yeah, that's what I got.
I like it. Okay, well, that's the Catoblepas, everybody. This beautiful, nice smelling. I can't. It's hideous and
Yeah.
gross, and I hate it.
I used it, and I feel like I used it well, and I am happy with it. But fuck, man, is it not a pleasant thing to look at?
He
Oh,
definitely
man.
used it well, because that's the reason I hate it.
Yeah, if I can make you, that's how, ladies and gentlemen, I've done it.
Yep.
If I can make Bryce and Torchic and anybody else who's playing at the quote unquote table at the time when I bring a monster out, if they have a vendetta against that creature for the rest of time, that's how you know you've succeeded, folks. Is if you can make your players hate a monster, no matter what. So
Yep,
that's
I
success
hate
for
it.
me.
I hate it a lot. All right, everybody. That has been episode 7 or 8. I don't remember. I think 7
No idea.
of Monster Corner. If you guys have a suggestion for us, please leave a comment, and we will definitely do your monster at some point in our series. And it doesn't have to be a monster. We do beasts, dragons, fae, creatures from D&D.
Even like stuff like Strahd, if you guys want to see Strahd.
Yeah, I mean,
squad
I mean,
stat
we
block.
basically did that with Yanogu. You know, he's not
Yeah.
something that you just happen upon in the world. He's a demon.
Yeah. So
Demon lord.
we're down to clown with anything you guys give us.
Oh. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and we will catch you on the next one. Peace.